Welcome to episode 6 of Basically a Therapist, but without the degree. I'm Lauren Larson, and I am so excited that you're here. We went on a little bit of a break for the holidays, and so we're back, and we are back talking about boundaries again. Are we shocked though? So in this episode, I want to cover boundaries with ourselves. So we can have boundaries with other people all that we want, but if we don't have boundaries with ourselves and how we show up in our relationships with others, the boundaries that we set for other people aren't going to be very successful. So let's dive into it. So I can take boundaries with self in a totally different direction if I wanted to, and have it talk about boundaries with your time, or boundaries around your eating, or boundaries around what you watch or listen to, etc. But the beautiful thing about boundaries is that there are so many different aspects of them, and there's just so many different layers. And so we're going to put a pin in that piece of boundaries with self, and we're going to talk about internal boundaries with how you choose to show up in situations, interactions, including reactions, and realizing what's actually in your control. So, like I said before, and I will say again, you are only in control of yourself. The only thing that you are in control of is you. But I think so many of us get caught up in trying to control our situations or everything around us rather than controlling ourselves. And that's a whole other topic to discuss. But usually the need to control things stems from a type of anxiety. And so, again, we'll talk about that a different time. But many of us, including myself, feel the need to control. It gives us a sense of stability and safety and knowing what's happening or what could happen or preventing things from happening. And so we try to control our environment. Like with many things, I think controlling our environment is good in moderation, but there gets to be a point where it's a bit much. Like a dish being put in the dishwasher wrong, quote unquote wrong, by the way, and it being made into this big deal is controlling, and it's ridiculous. So let's have a little story time before I continue on. So I used to be a control freak. Hardcore. Like things had their places and things had to look a certain way and everything needed to be exactly how I wanted it to be. Like I was a control freak. And I realize now that it's because I felt so out of control of my marriage and so unsafe and so unhappy at the time that I tried to control everything else around me. That marriage ended, and I'm so much healthier and happier and in this relationship, but I was a little psycho. What I've realized is that my need for things to be a certain way isn't an absolute truth. So it can't be proven in a court of law. There is no right or wrong. There's no black or white. It's just my preference. So when my wonderful husband, who is incredible, he is so great. He is one of the tidiest people and just so clean. But if he doesn't put things back where I think that they should go, instead of resorting back to what I used to do, which was nag and complain and make a really big deal about it and like shame, I just quietly will put things where I prefer them to be. For example, hangers. He likes to leave them like empty in the closet where his clothes are. And I like to take them off the thing and put them in a specific place where all of the hangers are together and lined up. That's not how he rolls, and that's okay. It's not that he's right or wrong. It's not that I'm right or wrong. It is my preference. And so when he's gone, I quietly will just take them away and I will put them where I want them to be. And that's just something that I've learned is that my preferences aren't rules. They aren't absolute truths. And so they don't need to be enforced like that. So going back to the need to control, in this need to control, we can sometimes try to control other people. And in my opinion, no one truly ever has complete control over another human being. I believe that people have to choose to give their control or their power away to somebody for somebody to have it. And so it's still the choice of the person giving their control away, but the other person doesn't truly have that control. It's just that they're capitalizing on that person's fear or people pleasing and using it against them, because there are so many people who would rather keep the peace and or feel like this is how that they earn love from other people. This is what they've learned in childhood, that they allow any type of behavior, or they allow the person to call the shots or make all of the moves or make all the decisions or whatever. But that's inaccurate, because at any point in time, they can choose to take their control back. So having control over another human being is just, it's fake. It's not real, because when that person decides to wake up and say like, hey, I actually don't want to do that, or that's not right, or I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not showing up this way, it's done. The control's done. And let's talk about how no one else can make someone choose how to think or feel. You may manipulate the situation to get them to do what you want them to do, but with one simple no, a boundary, an ending of the relationship, whatever, that control stops. It's done. I know for me, if I feel like, and this is like the petty, unhealed part of me, but if I feel like somebody's controlling me, I will do the exact opposite of what they want. Petty? Yeah, probably. But I have lived so much of my life, giving away my power to others, that I am so hyper aware of it now and refuse to go back to that place. And I'm not suggesting that's what you do, but you have the control of yourself to say what you need, say what you want, say what's allowed and what's not allowed. Period. Another boundary we can have with ourselves is to learn that we aren't in control of other people's reactions. This one is geared more towards my people pleasers. I am a people pleaser in recovery, a recovering people pleaser. And so I want you to know that you are not in control of other people's reactions. If they are upset about something that you've said or done, or a boundary that you put in place, that is not your responsibility. So let's talk about it. Just because they're upset doesn't always mean that something is wrong. When you start to realize that you're only in control of yourself and can't actually control others, you'll start to see that the other person's in control of themselves. And so their reactions are their choices, because the way that someone reacts says everything about them and nothing about you. It's not about you. Repeat after me. Someone's reactions are not about me. So it could be about patterns that they've learned in childhood. It could be unhealed wounds. It could be triggers from a previous relationship. Something you said or did may have triggered a feeling that they used to feel in a different scenario that was hurtful, like maybe insecurity or hurt or being scared. And it was lashed out. It was taken out on you. But it's not actually about you. And no one can force us to feel a certain way. No one can reach inside of us and push a button and say, be mad, be offended, be hurt, be angry, be upset, be whatever. Nobody has that power. I see so many people tiptoeing around others to try not to upset them or make them feel bad. First of all, you cannot make anybody feel anything. I hear people say that all the time. They made me feel, or she made me feel, he made me feel. Nope. No. Nobody made you feel anything. You chose to feel that way. That was your choice. Period. But like, how empowering is that, right? Like, our feelings aren't outside of ourselves. and they aren't controlled by anyone else. It's not like the Wizard of Oz where there's somebody behind a curtain and they're pushing all these buttons to make you do or feel or think a certain way. It's all on you. And that is so empowering because you get to choose. You have the choice to show up and say what you want to say, think what you want to think, feel what you want to feel. We are in complete and total control of our own feelings. And that is powerful. But I want to say that because somebody's upset, it doesn't always mean that we didn't mess up or we could have handled a situation better. Like there is that possibility. And so there's a healthy sense of self-awareness and discernment in these situations on your end to identify if you were out of line or if they're just throwing a temper tantrum because they're out of control of themselves. Because I've had people get mad at me because they don't know how to communicate. And so because they don't have good communication skills on how to explain something, they're mad at me. And so I know that that's not my fault. And I'm not going to own that. And I'm not going to take that on as my own. So that's just one quick little example. When we find ourselves in situations where we're struggling with how somebody is feeling, I want you to know that it's not because they're feeling a certain way. It's because we have difficulty with discomfort. We have a difficulty feeling discomfort and allowing others to feel discomfort. And so sometimes we feel the need to save them from that feeling, but it's really about us being unable to sit in discomfort, not their actual discomfort. So Brené Brown talks beautifully about this, and it's so powerful and eye-opening. She talks about it in a couple of her books, but her most recent book, Atlas of the Heart, oh my gosh, that book was so good, you guys. It talks about this. And so I actually want to show you, I want to read some of it because there are several ways that we can respond to people's discomfort. So one of them is sympathy versus empathy. So the person who responds with sympathy, I feel sorry for you, rather than empathy, I get it, I feel with you, and I've been there. The subtext of this response is distance. These things don't happen to me or people like me. If you want to see a shame cyclone turn deadly, throw one of these at it. Oh, you poor thing, or bless your heart. Number 2, judgment. The person who hears the story and actually feels shame for you. So the friend gasps and confirms how horrified you should be. Then there's an awkward silence. Then you have to make this person feel better by convincing them that you're not a terrible person. Number 3, disappointment. The person who needs you to be a pillar of worthiness and authenticity. This person can't help you because they are too disappointed in your imperfections. You've let this person down. Discharging discomfort with blame. Because shame is visceral and contagious, we can feel it for other people. This person immediately needs to discharge the discomfort and vulnerability of the situation by blaming and scolding. They may blame/scold you. What were you thinking? Or they may look for someone else to take the fall. Who was that guy? We'll kick his butt. Caution, parents can fall easily into this when a child shares a shaming story with them. How did you let this happen? Number 5, minimize/avoid. We minimize and avoid when we want hard feelings to go away. Out of their own discomfort, this person refuses to acknowledge that you're in pain and or that you're hurting. You're just exaggerating. It wasn't that bad. You rock. You're perfect. Everyone loves you. Comparing and competing. This person confuses connecting with you over shared experiences with the opportunity to one-up you. So, for example, that's nothing. Listen to what happened to me one time. Speaking truth to power. You hold someone accountable for language, comments, or behavior that marginalizes or dehumanizes others, and it causes discomfort or conflict. When this person observes this or hears your story of what happened, they respond with, I can't believe you said that to your boss, or I can't believe you went there, or you can't talk about that stuff with people, versus an empathetic response of, that must have been hard. You were really brave, or It's hard to stand up for what you believe in. Thank you. Lastly, advice giving / problem solving. This is my biggest issue for sure. So sometimes when we see pain, our first instinct is to fix it. This is especially true for those of us whom people seek out to help with problem solving. In these instances, rather than listen and be with people in their emotion, we start fixing. Oopsies, that's definitely me. But those are just different ways that we try to get rid of discomfort. And sometimes we do all of those. Sometimes we do some of those. Sometimes we've never done any of them. But those are just a handful of ways that we can tend to handle discomfort rather than with empathy. And so allowing ourselves to let people feel what they feel without trying to change it is a great boundary, a self boundary that you can have, because it defines where you begin and end and where they begin and end. And their discomfort doesn't dictate anything about you or doesn't say anything about you at all. Lastly, in our relationships with adults, and this is even a great lesson for kids when you're raising them, sometimes we need to delay fun and delay gratification for what's wise and for a better future. So if, for example, someone keeps coming to you asking for, let's say, financial help, and this person is financially undisciplined and complains about not having enough money for emergencies or even regular life occurrences, yet continues to spend their money frivolously on entertainment or other unnecessary things, this is not somebody that, me personally, I would give my money to. And so when you have these people in your life, because you will, we all are going to have these people in our lives, and I'm sure you can even think of the person in your life maybe right now who is asking for money, asking for help. You get to decide who you're going to support and how you're going to support them. Part of being a mature adult is saying no to the things that we want and saying yes to the things that we need to create a better future. And so when deciding if or how you're going to support someone, be honest with yourself and them, especially if they're asking for your help, because you and God get to dictate your resources and how they're used and how you spend them, not the person asking for help. And so think about, are the problems that they're coming to you with truly because they can't catch a break and things are hard and life is stacked up against them, but they are trying their hardest, they are trying their best? Or is it due to refusal to practice self-discipline? Staying on the example of money, if it is a pattern and you continue to give money to them, you are no longer supporting them, you're enabling them. And I know that that's hard to hear because we want to help people. We want to help people be better. We want to see people do better. We want to see them succeed and grow and get better. But sometimes you have to stop giving in order for them to learn the independence and to figure it out for themselves. This is not a blanketed statement for all situations, but I do see so many people that are over giving of their resources for somebody who continues to stay in the same pattern. And at some point, you have got to get off the roller coaster with others and stay on the platform. People are going to continue to bring you their problems with no intention of truly changing their behavior or resolving the issue. And so while they choose to continue to ride the roller coaster of chaos, going through the twists and the turns and the loops of their choices, you get to stay steady on the platform. So to recap, take a few minutes to assess where you need to implement boundaries and or readjust those boundaries. So I want you to think about an area in your life where you're feeling stressed, anxious, hurt, whether that's work, romantic relationships, kids, parents, siblings, friends. It's possible you're taking on too much. Are you being passive when you want to be assertive? Are you saying yes when you want to say no? You can't outgive a taker. A taker will always take, and you can't outgive them. So what do you need to do in these situations in order to protect your peace? Take time to journal out your responses. When thinking about this, remember, you can only control what you do and what you allow. You don't have to be an audience to disrespectful behavior. As a reminder, understand that your need to control belongs to you and you alone. It is no one else's responsibility to follow your plans or your expectations. And if what someone is doing doesn't align with you or your values, then reevaluate the relationship rather than attempting to control them. Also, you are not responsible for other people's reactions. Someone's reactions aren't about you. And you control what you sign up for with others. And there's a difference between supporting and enabling, and I encourage you to look into it more, especially if you think that you're no longer in the supporting category and you might be into the enabling category at this point. But no matter what, I am here for you and I am cheering for you, and I am so excited for this boundary journey of yours. It is incredible. It's hard, but the freedom and the peace that you feel once you establish your boundaries and establish who you are and establish what's allowed, there's nothing like it. I'm praying for you. Thank you for tuning in to Basically a Therapist, but without the degree. Check the show notes for suggested resources about this topic. Be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're really feeling this episode, share it with a friend that you think it'll encourage and help in their relationships. Bye.